What's up guys, welcome back to another video on this channel, and you guys may be wondering why am I doing this specific video, this Deku X Power Rangers stuff, is because currently on Twitter I'm going through all of the Power Ranger shows, and you guys can check that out in the description, so go follow me on Twitter. But yeah, I wanted to do something with this knowledge I have, so here I decided to do the most generic thing and give Deku the power up. I will have to explain two quick things before we get started with this video. One, even though I have, the Green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger in the thumbnail, I will be using the 20th season of Power Rangers, that being Mega Force, or Super Mega Force. Since this is the 20th season, it celebrates the entirety of the Power Rangers franchise up to like the 20th year. So, the Rangers in that series have access to pretty much every Ranger that's ever existed. So that's why I'm using the 20th season, so I can, show off like a bunch of other Power Rangers. And the second thing is that in some of the Power Ranger seasons, some of the Rangers have civilian powers, but they never use it in their morph forms. And in this timeline, I'm gonna make it so Deku can use those while in that specific Ranger form. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get started. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys after the story's done. The beginning of My Hero Academia starts out the same, with Deku finding out that he is quirkless and gets bullied by Bakugo. On Deku's way home, he gets dusted before the sludge villain can get to him. When Deku realizes he's in some strange cave, he starts to freak out. This is when a tiki head on the wall starts talking to him. He introduces himself as Gosei, the Guardian of Earth. He's brought him here because a great evil will soon reawaken. Gosei would proceed to tell him that lining the walls to the side of him are all the Rangers that have come before him. Deku asks what happened to all of them, as last time he heard they just disappeared. Gosei explains that back when quirks were first popping up, his mentor Zordon recruited 5 teenagers with attitude, and they fought off any, bad guys that would show up. As you know, there would be more Ranger teams that would show up after this. For years, the Rangers and other hero teams would keep the peace. That's how it was until one day a man in Japan began to rise in power. Every Ranger that was around, they were sent to stop him, however each one was killed. This man now hides in the shadows and is known as All for One. Gosei goes on to explain that he will soon start to be active again. He's not sure when, but the Morphin Grid made him aware of it. That's why he's being chosen to become the new Green Ranger, because he's pure spirit and has met adversity in his life with great skill. In Mega Force, that's how Gosei chose his Red Ranger to be a Ranger, and all the adversity he faced was like fighting water bottles and getting bullied once, so Gosei then would give him the legendary Morpher. I'll be skipping the Gosei Morpher because in the show it's ultimately useless. It gets outshadowed by the legendary Morpher, so there you go. Deku grabs the Morpher and tells him to slow down as this is a lot to take in. He thinks Gosei must have made some sort of mistake in choosing him. Unlike the past Rangers, he doesn't have a quirk. Gosei tells him that being a hero isn't about the powers. It's about doing the right thing when no one else will. Deku decides to take up the responsibility of becoming a Power Ranger, because I do think that Deku would want to become a pro hero by any means necessary, so with the power given to him, he can finally achieve his dream. Deku would then ask the obvious question, why didn't he bring anybody else to become a Ranger? Gosei responds that there's too many talented heroes nowadays that more than one is unnecessary. He goes on to tell Deku that he should train and be ready to fight. They never know when All for One might show up. Gosei then teleports Deku back to the tunnel where he sees All Might finishing up the sludge villain. All Might tells him not to worry as he's already got the villain handled. He then hops over to the police station before Deku could even get a word in. Later that night, Deku gets access to the legendary Ranger database. Through this, he begins to study up on the history of all the past Ranger teams. This means he's essentially watching a supercut of every Power Ranger show. The next morning, Deku heads out to Dagobah Beach, as he thinks that no one's going to be around to watch him morph, so it would be the perfect place to do it. Once he morphs into his new Power Ranger suit, he starts training with his new quote-unquote powers. About 2 months into his training, Gosei contacts him saying that if he's going to be training here, Deku should clean up the beach. He also goes on to tell him that Deku is now able to become a legendary ranger. By pressing a button on his belt, he will get a ranger key, and inserting said key into the morpher will turn him into that ranger. Deku then goes ahead and does this, pulling out the green Mighty Morphin Ranger key. This would then turn him into the green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. Deku uses his new power to pick up a fridge and toss it a few dozen feet away. Gosei tells him to master these powers, and once he does, he'll have access to the legendary Megazords. Deku, thinking that it'll be super cool to control a giant mech, he tells Gosei that he won't disappoint him. Why did I wait 2 months for Gosei to tell him all this? Because in the show, Gosei's a terrible mentor, so I don't know, 2 months seems fitting. For the next 10 months, Deku is able to clean up the beach quite easily. However, he is only able to master 3 of these different rangers. So, like 3 out of like the who knows how many rangers exist. Which I'll explain later because right now we've got an entrance exam to get to. So, Deku still meets Uraraka and Tenya the same way, nothing would really change here. However, when it comes to the practical test, that's a different story. I do think that Deku is allowed to use his morpher as Aoyama is allowed to use his naval laser belt. So yeah, and if you guys think he's not, then this is where the what if would end. Anyways, when the test begins, Deku morphs into the Red Samurai Ranger. He turns his sword huge and starts ripping through some of the machines. Due to the limited time that he can stay morphed, he'd probably go through 2 more, ranger forms before the test ended. Those forms being the White Wild Force Ranger and the Blue Ninja Storm Ranger. When Deku sees Uraraka under the robot rubble, he morphs into the Green Mighty Morphin Ranger and tries to help. But this is when the zero-pointer robot shows up. Deku pulls out the Dragon Dagger and plays it like a flute. This summons the Dragon Zord, and Deku jumps into it. The Dragon Zord and the zero-point robot start to duke it out. We get a good old-fashioned mecha fight, so yeah. The Dragon Zord uses its missile fingers and ultimately destroys the zero-pointer robot by drilling its tail into it. Once Deku defeats the robot, he realizes that the time should have already ran out. It's almost as if someone artificially extended the time. Deku then steps out of the Dragon Zord and accidentally slips off. But before he can hit the ground, Uraraka slaps him in the face and stops him from hitting the ground. Because Deku would have destroyed robots, unlike in canon, he would land in like 5th or 6th place, just barely passing Ida and Kendo. The following week, he would get the news that he makes it into UA. We then have another anime time skip forward to the first day of school, where he's properly introduced to Uraraka, Ida, and Aizawa, who tells everybody to change and meet him at the PE grounds. Once they get there, Aizawa tells them that they're gonna get a test, and the person with the lowest score gets expelled. After some encouragement from Aizawa's threat, they begin with the 50-meter dash. The ranger that Deku would use is a Yellow Ranger from Operation Overdrive, being as she has super speed. Now, would he beat Bakugo? I doubt it. If anything, I'd say that they probably end up tying. This would piss off Bakugo because this quirkless rat was able to tie with him. He does attempt to attack Bakugo, but Aizawa does erase his quirk before he can. He tells Bakugo to focus on test or he'll be expelled right here, right now. As for the grip strength, he would use the Green Mystic Force Ranger, where he busts himself up, and yes, this is a real thing. I'd say he comes close to Shoji, but not quite there. As for the standing long jump, I'd probably say he turned into the Blue Overdrive Ranger, but I still think he'd land in the box. He'd also do great in the ball throw thanks to the Green Ranger form. Due to the fact that Deku does so well, Mineta would get expelled from UA. Because Mineta is getting kicked out, I'll be adding Shiozaki from Class B to Class A. I'll be adding her to Class A due to the fact that she scored 4th place in the entrance exam, so that's really only the reason. Also, I don't want to bring in Kendo because of what I'm about to do. The next morning, everybody's introduced to Mineta's replacement. I do think they would get along fine with Shiozaki, but they do find how religious she is a bit weird. There's also the fact that she's not a massive pervert like Mineta, so. After lunch, All Might burst into the class telling them that it's time for them to do some battle training. For the most part, Deku's hero costume would probably remain the same as when the Rangers morph. It always covers their clothes, so it's either that or he wears something basic like Todoroki. Now, due to the fact that these battles are picked at random, I'll be taking the plus Ultraman route and randomize the team and fights. Team 1 will be Ida and Tsuyu versus Toru and Shiozaki. I could see the battle going either way, but I'll give the win to Toru's team. Because Shiozaki would be able to, incapacitate both Ida and Tsuyu while Toru gets the bomb. Now, if the roles were reversed, I'd definitely give it to Ida's team, but they have to play, villains, so. There's also the fact that Shiozaki just moved the missile away with her hair, so. The second set of teams is Kirishima and Aoyama versus Bakugo and Shoji. Do I really need to explain this one? Team Bakugo wins due to raw power. Okay, Kirishima's team could win, but you'd really have to reach for it. Maybe if they found a way to stall for time, they could win, but other than that, Team Bakugo takes the W on this one. The third set is Koda and Shoto versus Tokuyami and Sato. I'll actually give the win to Tokuyami's team. I do think that they both have the strategy and the power to stop Shoto. As long as he doesn't flash freeze him or whatever he did in the anime. The second to last set of teams is Mina and Deku versus Sero and Oruka. This one would easily go to Deku's team. I say because Mina's acid would allow her to melt any tape or rocks they throw her way. Deku similarly would have a lot of swords and blasters to do the same thing. After the battle training, All Might would suggest that if Deku's going to be using blasters, he should go visit Snipe, as currently Deku's skill with his blasters are very sloppy. So after school, Deku does go see Snipe and ask him to, help him be in a better shot. While Snipe does say that he's a little busy right now, he wouldn't mind teaching the kid a thing or two sometime later. With that, Deku goes home, but as he goes home, he's being watched from afar by Aoyama. Sometime later, Aizawa tells everybody to get into their costumes as they're going on a field trip of sorts. The beginning of the USJ arc starts out the same for the most part. Everything up until everybody gets separated by Kurogiri. Where everybody goes will stay the same, there's really no need to change that. Deku is sent to the flood zone with Tsuyu and Shiozaki. After Tsuyu saves them from being shark bait, each one of them explains their quirks and how they work. Deku tries to come up with some sort of plan to get them out of here. He tries to think of any ranger that could help him out. He does come up with one plan, but he's gonna need their help to do it. Both of the girls tell him that they've essentially got his back. Tsuyu gets a hold of both of them, and with the help of Shiozaki's hair, using it as more of a push to push him further out, Shiozaki would also use her vines to capture each of the villains and take them to shore, where Deku would morph into the yellow Dino Thunder Ranger and use the Sonic Scream to allow Tsuyu to use the opportunity to knock each one of them out. Now, due to the fact that they're on shore, Shiozaki would probably notice them a lot quicker and, go to attack them. Deku tries to stop him from killing Tsuyu, but Nomu gets in the way. Nomu will then just toss him aside while Shiozaki is able to wrap vines around them and, save Tsuyu. Deku will then morph into the, green Mystic Force Ranger and use the buff form. He would try to fight the Nomu even if it's against his better judgment, but once the Nomu actually gets a hit in, it breaks the morph almost immediately. Deku would then turn into the blue Dino Thunder Ranger. Thanks to the hardened skin ability, this morph is able to take 2 more hits before All Might shows up, and things more or less go back to the way they were in canon. So, All Might saves the day, fights off Nomu, and the villains retreat. And that's where I'm going to leave it off for now. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't know how many of you guys will, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. I want to say that the reason I had Deku master the Green Ranger, the Green Mighty Morphin Ranger, is because the Dragon Zord would have been really cool to fight against the 0-point robot. Also, I don't know if I'm going to be able to use any Megazords anymore throughout the story, because, my hero doesn't really have big, gigantic fights. So that's why I kind of shoved it in there. That's honestly about it. If you guys didn't like anything about this, leave in the comment down below. I'll probably end up reading it. I doubt this is gonna get enough views or likes to continue it, but let's get a like goal of 100 to get a part 2, I guess. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.